Nowhere is truly safe. No moment of weakness goes unpunished. Every decision carries the weight of fate. Every mistake demands its price. Nature never forgives. Before the sun climbs high, look at what waits beneath that black mirror. A slab of dark scales drives up from the mud, and the black mirror shatters into 1,000 silver pieces, 1/10 of a second. One life changes hands. In the next 24 hours, this water will collect that debt again and again. So of all who bow their heads to drink, who rises and who stays? In the final hour before dawn, the semi-arid savanna holds its breath. A waterhole lies exposed beneath a sky not yet willing to brighten its surface, still and dark as a bottomless mirror. Not a sound, not a ripple. Around it, the cracked earth stretches to the horizon, the scars of a dry season that has lingered far too long. This is Hwange, a semi-arid wilderness in southern Africa, where water is worth more than anything. Within a radius of just over a mile around this water, more lives have ended than anywhere else on this land. But for now, all is still asleep. The eastern sky cracks open with a sliver of grey. The wind shifts, carrying with it the scent of damp mud, a scent that every thirsty creature on this plain will follow. The waterhole waits. It always waits. Today, the story unfolds around a single pool of water and a single turning of the sun. The grey in the east turns to pink. The first day begins, and with it, the first shift. In this land, there is only one law. To live, you must drink, and to drink, there is only one place to go. But the very place that grants life can take it away just as easily. Every mouthful may be the last. This is a paradox older than humankind itself. Water is both salvation and snare. No one is exempt. In the 24 hours ahead, every creature on this land will find its way to this one waterhole. Some will leave fuller than when they arrived. Some will not leave at all. And a question lies waiting beneath the surface alongside them. Does this waterhole belong to the longest teeth or the longest patience? The grey in the east turns to pink. The first day begins, and with it, the first shift. From the horizon, the first dark shapes appear. A herd of zebra approaches slow, cautious, single file against the bleached grass. All through the night, they have kept themselves miles from this place. That was no accident. Researchers at Hwange have uncovered a remarkable pattern. Zebra graze within a few hundred yards of the waterhole by day, but when dusk falls, they retreat more than 2/3 of a mile. That brief nightly withdrawal reduces their chance of encountering a lion by roughly 60%. It is a miniature migration, repeated every single day. Now, as light returns and the dangers of darkness recede, the herd comes back. A thirst suppressed all night long quickens their step. The lead mare halts a few paces from the water's edge. She raises her head high, both ears swiveling like twin radar dishes, her eyes scanning the glassy surface. because the stillest water is often the most dangerous water of all. Thirst, in the end, defeats fear. The herd crowds down to the water's edge, soft muzzles breaking the dark mirror. The quiet sound of drinking carries through the morning air. One zebra separates from the group, picking its way to an open stretch, then lowers its head right where the water runs deep. Beneath the dark surface, something shifts. The zebra drinks. It suspects nothing. Then the water explodes. When the spray settles, the zebra is back among the herd, trembling, but intact. The strike missed by inches. This time, the waterhole spared it. This time only. The zebra have barely steadied their nerves when the ground begins to tremble. Not a jolt, a deep, rhythmic pulse, rising from the earth itself. From the thorn scrub, enormous, within minutes, water seeps up from below. And those wells do not sustain elephants alone, they sustain every creature in the surrounding land. One act, saving countless lives. Yet that generosity comes with a condition. As long as the elephants are here, the water belongs to them. The sun climbs higher now. The cool of morning dissolves, giving way to heat already shimmering off the ground. The dawn shift draws to a close. Those who drink by daylight have had their share, some satisfied, some driven off. But the great drama has not yet begun. For with every passing hour, the sun climbs higher, the thirst tightens its grip, and the waterhole becomes impossible to resist. Beneath the murky water the elephants left behind, a pair of eyes has not blinked once since sunrise. It is not here because it was chased. It has never left. The shadows of the acacias shorten at their feet, and the air begins to quiver with heat. The herd scatter to find shade, chewing cud, waiting. But thirst does not wait, it only grows. Across this semi-arid land, every trail leads to one place. As the temperature rises, the radius of survival contracts around the only waterhole that still holds water. The less water remains, the tighter the trap becomes. That is the brutal arithmetic of the dry season. What awaits the herds when they are forced to return in the peak of the heat? The answer lies just beneath the surface, motionless and infinitely patient. Midday. The sun stands directly overhead, pouring fire onto the savannah without a trace of mercy. The cracked ground throws heat back into the sky, warping the landscape into a trembling mirage. This is the most punishing hour of the day, and the most dangerous hour at the waterhole. No shade is cool enough. No blade of grass holds enough moisture. With every breath, the body loses water, and thirst becomes a command that cannot be disobeyed. Herd by herd, species by species, they are forced from their shelter. They know the waterhole is dangerous. But staying away is more dangerous still. This is the mechanism of the passive trap. The waterhole does not need to hunt. It only needs to exist and let thirst do the rest. Into that heat, a streak of spotted gold cuts along the rim of the water a cheetah, the only hunter that dares to open a chase at noon. 300 feet, 3 seconds. The young antelope never finishes turning its head. One stumble. Dust swallows everything. The hunt is over almost before it began. Except in this land, bringing down a meal is only half the problem. The first whooping call arrives before the cheetah has caught its breath. Spotted hyenas' noses that can read a meal on the wind from 2 miles away. Against their numbers, the cheetah releases its prize and backs away. The meal changes hands in open daylight. Scientists at Hwanghae have measured it precisely. The majority of kills by large predators are concentrated in a narrow belt within just over a mile of the water's edge. Just over a mile. That is the radius of danger. Step inside it, and virtually every living creature becomes potential prey. Impala arrive first, tentative with every step. Then others follow, one species after another, drawn to the same narrow shore. Each has a strategy. Drink fast, then retreat. Post a few sentinels while the rest lower their heads. No one wants to be the last one still standing at the water's edge. Because every animal here understands, in the marrow of its bones, one unspoken truth. Beneath that glassy surface, something is watching. The water does not betray it. Not a ripple, not a shadow. Only stillness, a stillness that has been here since long before any of these herds were born. The hotter it gets, the more tightly packed the crowd on the bank becomes. And the more tightly packed the crowd, the greater the opportunity for the hunter. The entire savannah now converges on a single point. Predator and prey, the powerful and the vulnerable, all dragged to the same water's edge by the same unrelenting thirst. The stage is set. The players are in position. Now all it takes is one careless bow of the head. It was here before any of them, before the elephants, before the zebra, before this dry season even began. A Nile crocodile, roughly 15 feet from snout to tail, lies motionless in the shallow, turbid water, only its ridged back and two unblinking eyes breaking the surface. While every other species must come and go with the rhythm of the sun, the crocodile never changes shift. It is the only creature that commands the waterhole 24 hours a day. Day and night, blazing noon and freezing dark, it is always here. For this animal, there is no dawn, no dusk. Only the water and the muzzles that lower into it. This is one of the most ancient hunters still alive. Its form has remained virtually unchanged for tens of millions of years because it has scarcely needed to change. Its strategy requires no long-distance speed, no stamina. It requires only one thing: absolute patience. A crocodile can hold its breath underwater for up to 90 minutes, and fast for months on end, lying still for hours, even days, burning almost no energy at all. It has turned weighting itself into a weapon. And its position is chosen with mathematical precision, right at the deepest point, where the herds must lower their heads the furthest to reach the water. Every animal that comes to drink unwittingly steps into a kill zone calculated long in advance. The trap does not move, the prey delivers itself. Now, at midday, its hunting window opens wide. The thirst-stricken crowd surges in, prey density peaks. And the old crocodile simply chooses. It sinks a fraction lower. Two stone-cold eyes lock silently onto a target at the water's edge. Then it begins to drift forward, so slowly the surface does not stir. At the water's edge, a wildebeest stands with its head lowered, drinking. The water detonates. Then everything falls silent. The surface closes over, smooth and still, as though nothing happened at all. The wildebeest does not resurface. The crocodile will not need to hunt again for many days. On the bank, the herd freezes at a cautious distance, flanks heaving, eyes still fixed on the water. But their thirst remains. This is the tragedy of the trap. Even having just witnessed death, they must return. Without water, they will certainly perish. With it, they only might. And the crocodile does not need to succeed every time. It has an entire dry season stretching ahead, and an endless procession of prey driven to its door by thirst alone. The waterhole is its home, its territory, its dining table. But even the sovereign of the water has its limits. The crocodile can only reach what ventures close enough to the deep water. Some prey stand too tall, too long-legged, seemingly beyond its grasp. They can drink from the shallows, keeping their distance from the depths. In theory, at least. But to drink at all, even the tallest creature on the savannah must do the one thing that makes it more vulnerable than any other. And now, from the heat-hazed horizon, that tallest creature is approaching. A giraffe steps into the scene, towering, its head rising above even the acacia canopy. From that height, it can spot danger from an extraordinary distance. On the open plains, height is a shield. Few predators dare challenge a creature that can deliver a skull-shattering kick. But the waterhole has a way of leveling every advantage. And for the giraffe, the water's edge is a fatal weakness. Because that neck, nearly 6 feet long, its single greatest asset, cannot reach the surface when the animal stands upright. To drink, a giraffe must do the very thing every instinct screams against. It must lower itself. The giraffe reaches the water's edge and pauses. It scans the surroundings for a long, wary moment. It knows that what comes next will leave it nearly blind to danger. Then, slowly, it begins to splay its front legs apart. The forelegs slide wider and wider, the massive body sinking lower, until at last its lips touch the surface. In this position, it is virtually helpless. Standing back up will cost several precious seconds. It drinks urgently, in great gulps, eyes straining upward. Every second is a gamble. Not far away, right at the deep water, those stone-cold eyes surface once more. The crocodile has spotted its chance. It drifts forward, silent, the long body hidden beneath the murky water, heading straight for the stooping shadow on the bank. The water erupts. The giraffe lurches upright and bolts, escaping by a heartbeat. For a giraffe, every visit to the waterhole is a wager of its life. Not every one of them stands up in time. That is the price of height in a land of thirst. And that is the waterhole's cruelest paradox. It forces the strongest to reveal their weakness, and the tallest to bow the lowest. No one comes to the waterhole without paying a price. Elephants pay in the time they must spend standing guard. Zebra pay in fear. Giraffes pay in those few exposed seconds. The sun begins its westward tilt. The fierce glare softens to the color of honey. And across the savannah, a quiet transformation begins. All day long, another group has lain motionless in the shade of a thorn thicket, not far from the waterhole. They have not been sleeping as deeply as they appear. A pride of lions. Through the hottest hours, they have simply sprawled, conserving every ounce of energy, half-lidded eyes tracking the parade of animals along the waterhole's edge. Daylight is not their shift. Under the glare of the sun, prey can see them from far away. A midday hunt rarely succeeds. So they wait. Lions are most active at the edges of light dawn and dusk, when visibility fades and the advantage begins to swing in their favor. And now, as the sun grazes the treetops to the west, a lioness lifts her head. She tests the evening breeze. The sundial has just struck a new hour. This is the turning point of the entire day. Control of the waterhole begins to change hands. The shift of the daytime drinkers is drawing to a close. As if to herald this very moment, a russet cloud descends upon the waterhole, a flock of red-billed Kelias gathering for one last drink before the light fades. They do not dare to land. Each bird gets a quarter of a second. Dip, touch the beak, and climb. Under the glass, the familiar pebble eyes tick along with every flicker of wings. The strike could come at any instant, and it never comes. To a hunter of 1,000 pounds, a bird of a few grams is not worth breaking cover for. It lets the chance go. One snap of the jaws for 2 grams of meat is a losing bet. At the waterhole, even mercy is just arithmetic about energy. The crocodile remains where it has always been. But now it is about to gain a rival, another apex predator, stirring with the darkness, equally hungry for this waterhole. The herbivores sense the change in the air. An unease ripples along the water's edge. The time has come to make a life or death choice. Because when the sun goes down entirely, the waterhole will belong to an altogether different master. The sun sinks toward the horizon. The day is dying, and with it, the fragile safety of the light. Darkness is coming, and darkness in this place has its own set of rules. The zebras stand at the water's edge, restless. They have drunk their fill. Yet what holds them here now is not thirst. It is a decision etched into their blood across countless generations. Lions rule through fear, but other giants rule through memory and ancient wisdom. An invisible transfer of power is unfolding as the scorching sun begins to angle toward the horizon. As the heat retreats, another force emerges from the haze of memory. These are the gentle giants, keepers of time's map and the deepest secrets of water. Leading this clan is a wise matriarch, a living library of survival at the heart of the Dark Continent. Her experience, accumulated over decades, is not merely a gift but a life-saving map for every member of the herd. Their footsteps, though weighing several tons, fall with an almost supernatural lightness, as if treading gently upon fragile earth. The trunk, with its intricate network of over 40,000 muscle fascicles, is a marvel of natural engineering powerful enough to topple a full-grown tree, yet delicate enough to pluck a single blade of grass. Imagine an arm without bones or joints that can lift 700 pounds and pick up a single peanut that is the elephant's trunk. Beneath their thick, wrinkled skin lies a sophisticated thermoregulation system that helps them endure temperatures exceeding 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Those wrinkles are not signs of age. They are cooling channels that retain moisture and dissipate heat 10 times more efficiently than smooth skin. Elephants communicate not only through gentle touches of the trunk, but through infrasonic rumbles below the threshold of human hearing, like whispers carried by the earth itself. These deep, resonant calls travel up to 6 miles across the ground, creating a vast, invisible social network. Other herds listen to these vibrations through the sensitive pads of their feet, just as humans read messages with their eyes. Elephants read signals through bone. Ahead of them lies the Great Chobe River, a perilous challenge on the journey to find sustenance. The matriarch pauses at the water's edge, using her sensitive trunk to probe the currents and gauge the depth. She has crossed this river dozens of times, each crossing etched in her memory, knowing precisely where it is safe and where crocodiles lurk. The safety of the calves is the absolute priority as the herd slowly wades into the churning current. When the water rises above the heads of the young, their trunks reach skyward like snorkels, an innate instinct passed down through thousands of generations. A full-grown elephant needs up to 50 gallons of water each day. The reason: the search for water is always a matter of life and death. The adults form a solid ring, shielding the next generation from the dangers lurking beneath the surface. The unity of this clan is its supreme weapon, an invisible force that carries them through every hardship. Having crossed the turbulent Chobe, the family intertwines their trunks in a gesture of trust and triumph. It is a declaration that unity is an unbreakable bond among these magnificent beings. Leaving the elephant's serene world behind, another society operates chaotic, treacherous, and no less flawed. Baboons, the shrewd inhabitants of the cliff faces, possess the most complex and ruthless political system on the plains. If elephants are the aristocracy, then baboons are the parliament where every seat of power comes at a price. Here, status is never permanent. It must be seized and defended with strength and daring. The dominant male strides with authority, bearing canines as long as daggers to deter any thought of rebellion. With dozens of distinct vocalizations, they have built a sophisticated language, every shriek, every bark carrying a specific message. But safety in their world is only temporary, as darkness begins to shroud the towering cliffs. In the silent chaos of the dark night, an exhausted young elephant has inadvertently fallen behind the clan. A brief encounter with a lurking predator ends in silence, leaving a painful void for the following day. Dawn carries with it a haunting mourning ritual. The entire herd gathers around the remaining traces. No one hurries, no one leaves. They gently touch the ground with their trunks, a quiet farewell to a fallen companion. The matriarch stands beside the remains, longer than any other her aged eyes, gazing down at a place where only traces remain. Scientists have documented elephants returning to visit the bones of deceased herd members years later, a behavior that science has yet to fully explain. This loss will eventually be eased by the arrival of new life, a joy shared by the entire clan. Tiny, inquisitive trunks explore a new world, learning the language of tenderness and strength under a watchful guardian. Every touch is a lesson. Every vibration is a memory. When a pack of hyenas appears with hungry eyes, the mother elephant unleashes a thunderous warning that tears through the air. The herd swiftly forms a living fortress, an impenetrable wall shielding the smallest member. As dusk descends, their very presence reshapes the landscape across a vast expanse. By toppling trees and opening clearings for new grass to grow, they are the ecosystem's engineers maintaining the heartbeat of the entire land. But even giants are never entirely safe from the darkness. A strange scent drifts on the wind, a signal to move, not a signal of safety. And the darkness belongs to one creature no one wants to meet. High above the sheer cliff faces, the baboon society faces its own brutal trial in the night. The young cling tightly to their mothers' backs, anxious eyes sweeping through the shadows. A leopard conceals itself among the foliage, its golden eyes glowing like two burning amber stones locked onto an exposed target. This spotted assassin possesses astonishing strength, capable of dragging prey twice its body weight up into the treetops, the way a hunter hangs a trophy on a stake. A strike. A blink. Over. Pandemonium erupts through the troop, alarm calls tearing through the night forest. A network of collective intelligence activates each distinct sound carrying a specific meaning. Where the enemy is, how far, how large. The leopard carries its prize to the highest branch beyond the reach of any hyena, any lion. One creature's death is another's survival. Collective intelligence is the only thing keeping baboons alive through every night. When the scorching sun returns, it brings another crisis. Water is vanishing. The sun drains the last lifeblood of the land. The rivers are running dry. The pungent stench of cracking mud spreads wide, the scent of desperation. Amid pools of thickening sludge, the battle for survival rages with unbridled ferocity. Hippopotamuses, those ill-tempered giants, are the undisputed lords of this amphibious realm. Their sluggish appearance on land stands in stark contrast to their terrifying agility beneath the murky water, like a freight truck suddenly transforming into a submarine. When territory is violated, they attack without hesitation, unleashing the full fury of a zealous guardian. A colossal mouth with a bite force reaching 1800 psi, stronger than a lion's, serves as a lethal warning to anything that dares approach. Weighing up to 4,000 pounds, the hippo is the third heaviest land mammal on the planet, surpassed only by elephants and rhinoceroses. A prolonged yawn is no sign of relaxation. It is a display of power, a moment that reveals canines measuring up to 20 inches long. Yet the merciless thirst of the dry season grants other species no choice of safety. It compels thousands of creatures to gamble with their lives for the last precious drops of water. And when the water runs dry, whoever drinks first may die first. A herd of zebras approaches the water's edge with instinctive hesitation, their ears in constant rotation, scanning for the faintest disturbance. Nature has bestowed upon them a unique defense mechanism, a coat of contrasting black and white stripes, each pattern as unique as a human fingerprint. When moving together as a unified mass, these stripes create a peculiar optical illusion, an effect scientists call motion dazzle. A living labyrinth that bewilders predators, making it extraordinarily difficult to single out one target. But beneath the water's mirror-still surface, ancient killers wait with infinite patience. The Nile crocodile, master of ambush, can lie motionless for hours, blending seamlessly into the current. It requires no cheetah's speed, relying instead on supreme patience and a bite that crushes all resistance. A bite force reaching 3,700 psi, the strongest in the animal kingdom, turns the crocodile's jaws into steel vises from which nothing escapes. A species virtually unchanged for hundreds of millions of years, living proof that perfection needs no further evolution. But water does not bring only savage confrontation. Elsewhere, it creates nature's most exquisite spectacle. At remote alkaline lakes where no fish can survive, a vast ribbon of pink gently descends upon a mirror-still surface. Flamingos, dancers of the sky, gather by the millions, transforming a dead lakebed into a living stage. With their specially curved bills designed to work upside down, like a hand that only functions when flipped, they filter tiny organisms from the saline water. That vibrant pink plumage is not innate. It comes from carotenoid pigments in the algae and crustaceans they consume each day. You become what you eat, quite literally. Their synchronized dance is not merely a visual feast. It is a complex language of courtship and flock solidarity. When tens of thousands of wings beat softly in unison, the air itself vibrates in a symphony of color and sound. Then thirst draws them all back to harsh reality. In the decades to come, the fate of these grasslands may be decided not by fang or claw, but by one simple question: will the water remain? Protecting a waterhole is not merely preserving a few gallons, it is preserving the entire drama that has played out around it for millions of years. Because when the last waterhole runs dry, there will be no one left to fight for dominion over it. The true master of this place has never been any single species. The master is the water itself and time. Water decides who lives. Time decides when. Every creature here is merely a piece on a sundial. No one commands the waterhole forever. They are all only borrowing it 1 hour at a time. Thank you for joining Nature's Moments through one complete turn of the sun. Out there, countless stories still wait to be told. If this waterhole made you see the natural world differently, subscribe to Nature's Moments and leave a comment. Which shift surprised you the most? We'll see you at the next story. And on the savannah, as the first sunlight spreads gold across the ground, those familiar dark shapes appear once more on the horizon. The waterhole waits again. It always waits. And a new day, with its first shift, begins once more. The first rains of the season have begun to spatter across the East African savanna. But they are not yet enough to banish the heat that has built up over months. The grasslands shudder awake, flecked with tender green shoots threading through patches of sun-bleached stubble. The air thickens, shimmering in the wet, suffocating warmth. This is the oppressive threshold between seasons. Every movement costs energy and water, two currencies now more precious than gold. And so, at midday, the savannah falls almost silent. Even its most celebrated hunter cannot be bothered to stir. Beneath the canopy of a lone tree, a pride of lions lies sprawled, bellies exposed, nearly motionless. Lions can rest for up to 20 hours a day. In heat like this, every unnecessary hunt is a squandering of strength. For centuries, humans have called the lion the king of beasts. Yet for most of its life, that king simply lies still. Still, a resting lion is never a harmless lion. It watches through half-closed eyes, waiting for an opportunity easy enough to warrant rising. Because lions lack endurance. They explode into a ferocious burst over a very short distance and then tire, so they waste no effort chasing distant prey. What they wait for is a mistake, a careless animal, wandering too close, delivering itself as a meal. While the king sleeps away the heat, another creature is coping with the changing season in its own fashion. And it is one that few ever spare a second glance. Low-slung, caked in mud, its face studded with warts, armed with curved tusks and a scrawny tail. This is the African warthog, one of the most underestimated animals on the grasslands. Yet it is a consummate survivor, especially in this stifling air. The warthog's body has almost no sweat glands, making self-cooling nearly impossible. So it turns to mud. It rolls in the slurry, letting the wet layer draw away the heat while shielding its skin from the sun and scouring away parasites. To graze on the fresh shoots pushing up beneath the withered grass, it drops to both front knees to feed a posture almost no other mammal adopts. Its curved tusks, sharp as blades, serve as weapons of defense. And the warts on its face are pads of thick tissue that cushion blows during fights. But the thing that saves the warthog's life most often in this sweltering furnace is a hole in the ground. It commandeers abandoned aardvark burrows. Down there, the air is far cooler than the oven above and far safer. And the most ingenious detail, when entering, it always backs in rear first, so its tusks point straight at the entrance, ready to impale anything foolish enough to follow. Yet all those layers of defense only work when the warthog stays close to its burrow. And one afternoon, a boar made exactly that mistake. It wandered across open ground, head down, grazing, drifting too far from shelter, right in front of a pride of lions resting beneath the trees. A meal laid bare in broad daylight like that is something no hungry lion can resist. Then she launched. The warthog bolted, hitting 30 miles per hour. But the life-saving burrow was too far away. One strike, and the prey collapsed in a cloud of dust. Jaws clamped around the throat, holding until every struggle faded. A kill rich in meat at a time of scarcity. For the pride, this is a precious meal that could sustain them for days. But the lion is not the only hunter stalking through this heat. Through the sweltering midday, another predator has been draped across a high branch, dozing among the leaves. A leopard. The loneliest and most silent hunter on the savannah. Its weapon is not raw power, but the erasure of distance. Its rosette-patterned coat fractures its outline amid the dappled light filtering through the canopy, rendering it nearly invisible to passing prey. This allows the leopard to crawl within striking range, sometimes just a few paces away before erupting in an instant. The leopard exploded from point-blank range. No time to run. No chance to fight. In seconds, it was over. Then it did what few hunters can. It hauled the entire carcass up into a high fork of a tree. The lion sleeps to conserve strength, rising only when an easy meal walks into range. The leopard hides from the sun in the trees. And the warthog, the most underestimated of them all, is nowhere near as feeble as it looks. A mud wallow, a pair of tusks, a life-saving burrow. It carries an entire survival toolkit few would ever suspect. These are exactly what let warthogs survive and thrive across Africa. The ones that fall are the ones that slip for a moment, wandering too far from safety or straying too close to danger, lying in wait. Because on the savannah, survival rarely belongs to the strongest or the most beautiful. It belongs to the one that understands its own limits. People tend to crown the flashiest kings, forgetting the quiet ones that endure, generation after generation. The spotted hyena, the most misunderstood creature in the wild, begins its shift. Hyenas are not the cowardly scavengers that many still believe them to be. They are endurance hunters, capable of sustaining speeds of nearly 40 miles per hour through prolonged chases. And what makes them truly formidable lies in the brain. The social coordination of spotted hyenas rivals, and in some cases surpasses, that of certain primates, according to research from Duke University. Hyena clans operate under female dominance. A strict matriarchal hierarchy, where the lowest-ranking daughter of the alpha still outranks the largest male. They encircle a group of wildebeest already spent from the day's river crossing. In the darkness, every advantage the prey once held disappears. The hunt begins with a rallying whoop, the signal to coordinate. One group drives from the front, another flanks from the sides. The prey has nowhere to run. And when the meal is over, the hyena's stomach reveals a capability no other mammal can match. Hydrochloric acid so concentrated it can completely dissolve hard bone within 24 hours. Horns, hooves, skulls, everything vanishes inside the hyena's gut. Nothing is wasted, nothing remains. But on the Serengeti, the surprises are far from over. As dawn breaks, along the fringe of the wildebeest herd, a low silhouette glides through the tall grass. The cheetah's body is an engineering masterpiece, sculpted by 40 million years of evolution for a single purpose: speed. A flexible spine compresses and extends like a coiled spring, producing strides up to 23 feet in length. Semi-retractable claws function like steel spikes on a sprinter's shoe, gripping the earth through every turn. And the long tail, a perfect aerodynamic counterbalance, stabilizes the entire body. A mother cheetah watches a cluster of young gazelles separate from the group. Her 3 cubs wait in the brush, stomachs empty. The success rate of each hunt hovers between 40 and 58%. She must succeed, or her family will go hungry for another day. Her body lowers, muscles coil like a spring, then detonate. 3 seconds. The chase begins and ends before the dust has time to settle. But even in victory, the cheetah loses. She needs 20 minutes to recover before she can eat. Core body temperature spikes to a dangerous threshold, and during those minutes of gasping breath, any larger predator lion, hyena can steal the prize. Speed is the supreme advantage, but also the supreme burden. And so, along the Mara River, a single wildebeest must face 4 apex predators in the span of a single day. Crocodile in the water, lion on the bank, hyena in the night, and cheetah at dawn. Every passing minute brings a new fear, a new enemy. That is the nature of migration. The hooves must never stop, for to stop is to die. But the Serengeti is only one piece of the African canvas. In the south of the continent, a herd of zebras is proving that primal instinct is stronger than any barrier humans can erect. In 2012, GPS tracking devices fitted to zebras confirmed what scientists had long suspected. No maps, no language, no instruction from humans, only pure instinct, etched deep within the DNA. But veterinary fences erected by humans blocked this migration for decades. Zebras were confined to smaller territories, cut off from essential mineral sources. Thousands of zebras perished from malnutrition during drought years, not from predators, but from barbed wire. Then, between 2004 and 2012, the fences were removed. And something astonishing happened. Zebras resumed migrating in the very first season. An instinct dormant for decades awakened instantly, no learning, no guidance, no previous generation to lead the way. As though they had never forgotten, as though the fences had never existed. But along this migration route, danger still lurks. Lionesses, unlike the males at the Mara, these are the true hunters, coordinate ambush positions along the path of the herd. They know the routes. They know the water sources. They ambush at the very places where zebras are forced to stop. And the leopard, at just 130 pounds, far smaller than a lion, possesses a capability no other big cat can match. It can haul prey weighing 2 to 3 times its own body weight up into a tree. An adult zebra weighs over 600 pounds. The leopard cannot take one down directly. But young foals, injured stragglers, those separated from the herd, those are the targets. Nature was constrained by human fences for decades, but the deepest biological code, the migratory instinct inscribed into every cell, remained intact. Africa, from the Serengeti to Botswana, is where migration is written in blood upon every footfall. From the tropical forests of Central America to the wetlands of the Pantanal, one predator dominates every ecological tier on land, in water, and even on the beach. The jaguar, the strongest bite force of any big cat relative to body size, surpassing both lion and tiger. Its lower jaw does not tear flesh in the conventional way. It crushes, driving straight through the skull of its prey. This is the only big cat that regularly includes reptiles as a primary part of its diet, and not small reptiles. The wetland assassin. In the Pantanal, the largest wetland on Earth, the jaguar moves silently along the riverbank, golden eyes tracking each caiman basking on the mudflat. Then, in a single instant, one precise leap, jaws crushing through the caiman's skull before the prey can react. Along the Central American coast, jaguars have developed a hunting skill found nowhere else. Harnessing the most powerful bite in the cat family, they can puncture through sea turtle shells right at the nesting beach. But the story holds an unexpected paradox. The presence of this killer, paradoxically, saves the turtles. Jaguars drive covetous, notorious nest raiders away from the sandy shores. Fewer coatis means more nests survive. A predator protecting the future offspring of its own prey, and inadvertently safeguarding the very species it hunts. This indirect equilibrium is something nature achieves far better than any conservation plan designed by humans. Yet only around 64,000 jaguars remain in the wild. The IUCN classifies them as near threatened. Habitat loss, vanishing wildlife corridors, dwindling prey. Every jaguar that disappears is an ecological link severed. And the paradox deepens. Protecting the jaguar also means protecting sea turtles. Two species that seem like opposites are in fact bound together in an ecological dance that humans have only just begun to understand. The ocean covers 70% of the planet's surface. And within those deep blue waters, migration follows an entirely different set of rules. Not individual strength, but collective intelligence and pure probability. Killer whales, orcas, are not whales at all. They are the largest dolphins on Earth, and perhaps the most intelligent ocean predator the seas have ever witnessed. Each orca pod possesses its own dialect, a sound system that no other pod can decipher. They pass hunting techniques down through generations, creating what scientists call culture, a concept once reserved solely for humans. Off the Antarctic Peninsula, the Juan hunting technique has left the research world astonished. Wave washing. The target, a Weddell seal lying on a drifting ice floe, believing itself safe. The orca pod, typically 4 to 6 individuals, lines up abreast beneath the surface, dozens of feet from the floe. Then, in unison, they charge at full speed. Not to strike directly, but to create a wave. A massive wall of water crashes over the ice floe, tilting it, fracturing it, and sweeping the prey into the sea. If the first attempt fails, they repeat 3 times, 5 times, as many as it takes until the seal slips off. This is not blind instinct. This is a tactic that is calculated. Young orcas follow their mothers and aunts within the pod, observing hundreds of attempts before executing one themselves, a learning process that spans years. Using coordinated tactics and memorized migration routes to set ambushes, the orca is the only ocean predator capable of planning weeks in advance. But wave washing is just one weapon in the orca's tactical arsenal. In the waters off Western Australia, a far more brutal ambush is underway. The target is not a seal, but a humpback whale calf. During migration season, humpback mothers guide their newborns from warm tropical waters back toward the southern feeding grounds. The calves are only weeks old, slow, fragile, and entirely dependent on their mothers. The orca pod knows this. They memorize migration routes and stage ambushes at the very points where whale mothers are forced to pass. The tactic begins with separation. One group of orcas uses their bodies to block the humpback mother, while the remaining group surrounds the calf and takes turns pressing down on its blowhole. They do not need to bite or tear. They simply hold the calf beneath the surface, long enough to cause drowning. Though the humpback mother fights with desperate fury, and sometimes even unrelated humpback adults intervene, these battles lasting hours typically tilt in favor of the orca pod. It is the ocean's most ruthless moment, when collective intelligence crushes the brute strength of an individual. If you find these stories of migration and survival as gripping as we do, share your thoughts in the comments below. But orca intelligence is only one chapter in the ocean's book. Off the coast of South Africa, an event of staggering biological scale is about to erupt. The sardine dance, the sardine run. Billions of sardines stream along the eastern coast of South Africa, riding the cold currents, creating one of the most spectacular biological events on the planet. Cold water sweeping up from Cape Agulhas pushes the sardines northward, and as they move, an army of enemies assembles behind, above, and below. This is not a hunt. This is a symphony. Each predator species plays a different instrument, and the prey is the melody. First come the common dolphins' pods, numbering over 10,000 individuals, moving like a disciplined army beneath the surface. Their echolocation system allows dolphins to see through murky water, each click bouncing back to paint a precise three-dimensional map of the sardine shoal ahead. The tactic begins. Dolphins release curtains of air bubbles while spiraling at high speed, compressing the sardine shoal from every direction. Billions of sardines are squeezed into a single enormous spinning sphere, a bait ball, the final defensive structure when there is nowhere left to flee. But the bait ball is not a defense. It is a death sentence, written by instinct. The dolphins do not charge in recklessly. Each one approaches the bait ball, plucks exactly one sardine, withdraws, then returns to position. Absolute discipline. Because if any predator gets too greedy, the structure collapses and the sardines scatter, leaving no one fed. This is the paradox of the sardine run. The predator must restrain its own instinct to keep the food source alive long enough for all. But the dolphin's measured precision is about to be shattered. A dark silhouette appears from the deep. The thresher shark, whose tail accounts for nearly half its total body length. The tail is the weapon, not teeth, not jaws, but a whip-like tail driven by the most powerful muscles in its body. The ocean erupts into white chaos. Bubbles, scales, blood, and foam churn together in a frenzy that no camera lens can fully capture. But the final blow has not yet landed. From the darkness below, an enormous mass is slowly rising. A bride's whale, 46 feet long, dozens of tons in weight, has been waiting all this time. It let the dolphins and sharks do the work of compressing the bait ball, and now, with density at its peak, it makes its move. The bride's whale is in no rush. It waits until the bait ball reaches maximum compression, when sardines are packed so tightly they cannot possibly compress further. Then it surges upward. A single lunge feed mouth gaping open like a cavern, thousands of gallons of seawater and thousands of sardines swallowed in one breath. One strike, thousands of lives vanish. The bait ball disintegrates completely. All that remains are sardine scales glinting as they drift slowly downward through the water like silver rain. And then silence returns. The surface smooths over as if nothing ever happened, only a few silver scales spinning lazily before sinking into the deep. The surviving sardines regroup, restructure their shoal, and continue moving northward. Instinct does not permit a halt, not even after catastrophe. But the sardine run is only one face of the ocean. In tropical waters, a lonelier, quieter, yet no less epic migration is unfolding. The journey of the sea turtle. On a Central American beach, beneath a full moon, a massive dark shape crawls slowly up from the surf. A mother sea turtle, after a solitary odyssey of over 2,000 miles across open ocean, has returned to the very beach where she hatched decades ago. She navigates by Earth's magnetic field, an invisible compass etched into her brain from the moment she emerged from the egg. Thousands of miles of ocean, and she still finds the exact beach. She digs her nest with her rear flippers, lays nearly 100 eggs, covers them with sand, and returns to the sea before dawn. That is all she can do. The rest belongs to probability and temperature. Sand temperature determines embryo sex. 82 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit, the razor-thin boundary between male and female, between balance and extinction. As the climate warms, the ratio of females climbs to dangerous levels. "60 days later, the sand cracks open. Hundreds of hatchlings, each no larger than a fist, begin clawing their way to the surface, and instinct immediately pulls them toward the moonlight reflected on the sea. But the true gamble starts here. Out of every 1,000 hatchlings, only one survives to adulthood. One in 1,000. That is not a probability. That is nearly a miracle. On the way to the ocean, threats come from every direction: seabirds, crabs, foxes. But offshore, what awaits is far more formidable. The tiger shark, up to 16 feet long, with serrated teeth engineered to shred anything from turtle shell to clam. Marine biologists have dubbed them the ocean's most indiscriminate feeders because tiger shark stomachs have been found to contain everything from license plates to paint cans. Tiger shark density along sea turtle migration routes continues to rise as warming currents shift, with the climate pushing predator ever closer to prey. Crossing 2,000 miles of open ocean, evading the razor-edged jaws of tiger sharks to return to the beach of one's birth. That is the journey every sea turtle must complete, not once, but dozens of times in a lifetime. A direct confrontation. Tiger shark jaws, overwhelming bite force. Self-sharpening serrated teeth against turtle shell, the densest keratin armor in the reptile world. The shell does not always lose, but it does not always win either. The ocean holds no mercy, but it holds no injustice. Either every creature plays by the same rules, and those rules were written hundreds of millions of years ago. For that is the law. Migration never stops. Prey keeps moving, predators keep pursuing, and the ocean keeps turning. And as we leave the vast ocean and turn toward the frozen north, the migration there stretches longer, colder, harsher, and is being reshaped by the invisible hand of climate. The Arctic ice is melting, earlier, faster, and more extensively than any forecast predicted 2 decades ago. The seal hunting season on the ice grows shorter every year. Polar bears are thinner, weaker, and more desperate. And as the ice vanishes, polar bears lose their primary food source. For the first time in recorded history, they are abandoning their frozen domain, moving onto land, and beginning to hunt caribou. Broad paws, originally designed to distribute weight across thin ice, now tread on grassland. A predator that evolved to hunt seals is now learning to hunt caribou, behavior never documented before the 21st century. The life cycle of the Alaskan salmon. And in Alaska, the final migration of the far north unfolds in a way no other migration can match. A migration with no return. Pacific salmon, born in rivers, raised in the ocean, and returning to the very stream where they hatched to spawn one final time. There is no return trip. There is no second journey. Every salmon knows this is the only time. In Alaska, native legend, salmon are a gift the ocean sends to the land, spirits of the sea returning to nourish the forest. Modern science affirms the legend is not wrong. When salmon leave the ocean and swim upstream, their digestive systems begin to shrink. They stop eating entirely. The body cannibalizes itself. From within, skin turns blood red, flesh softens, bones grow brittle even as they continue swimming, continue fighting the raging current. Swimming upstream to the place of birth to die every yard against the current is one step closer to death. but also one step closer to the only purpose that remains: to spawn. Stand ready. The dominant males, weighing up to 900 pounds by season's end, claim the positions at the top of the falls, where salmon must leap across. They practice what biologists call high grading, selecting only the choicest parts, eating only the brain, skin, and subcutaneous fat, the most calorie-dense portions, then discarding the rest into the river. Along the waterfalls of the migration route, a strict hierarchy governs everything. Dominant males hold the top positions, where the current delivers prey within arm's reach. Mothers with cubs must wait below, scavenging whatever remains. Each day, a large bear can consume up to 40 salmon. The leftovers drift downstream, where mothers and cubs are waiting. Each autumn, wolves shift from hunting deer to catching salmon. They preferentially eat the head, where lipid content is highest and parasite load is lowest. Carbon and nitrogen isotope analysis of wolf tissue confirms nutrients from the ocean persist within the wolf's body, proof that the sea feeds the forest, through salmon, through predators. "25% of the nitrogen in the largest old-growth trees in Alaska's forests comes from salmon, a trace of the sea found in the wood, up to 1,600 feet from the riverbank. The sea sustains the river nourishes the forest. The forest holds the water that flows back to the sea. A cycle with no beginning and no end, only life flowing from one form into another. When the last salmon stops swimming, its life is over. But its ecological imprint endures in every growth ring of Alaska's forests, in every drop of water that trickles back to the sea. Death is not the finale. Death is the beginning of a new cycle. In the distance, where limestone ridges block the view, another massive silhouette moves slowly into frame. Not far from Cape Point, South Africa, the sea's surface mirrors an empty sky. Below, the light fades foot by foot, until only deep blue remains. A dark shape appears. Across countless ages, every creature in these waters has learned to clear a path for this silent silhouette. Over 20 feet long, nearly 2 tons, gliding without disturbing the water. This is the great white shark. For centuries, it has stood as the ultimate symbol of power beneath the waves. An apex predator, the top of the food chain, jaws powerful enough to crush bone, and a reputation large enough to spawn countless legends. If the ocean has a king, most people would name this one. But power only means something when no one can challenge it. And that's where this story takes a completely different turn. Because even the great white shark has something that makes it flee. To understand why, the story first rewinds to the era when it ruled these waters unchallenged. The story begins in a bay on the southern tip of Africa. False Bay, South Africa. A crescent of water hugging the coastline near Cape Town, once known as the Great White Shark capital of the world. At its peak, this was home to some of the largest individuals on the planet. Mature females longer than 20 feet, weighing as much as a small truck. Why did this species dominate? The answer lies in its own body, a design honed almost to perfection for hunting. A teardrop-shaped body, streamlined to almost zero drag. Each stroke of its crescent-shaped tail sends that massive body shooting forward like an arrow. Its skin isn't smooth. It's covered in millions of tiny tooth-like scales, layered like tiles, slicing through water almost silently. Yet its most formidable weapon lies hidden inside. The great white is one of the very few fish able to keep its body warmer than the surrounding water. The mechanism is called regional endothermy. Warm blood is routed to its muscles, eyes, and brain, keeping its strength and reflexes sharp, even in the cold. It's a decisive advantage. While cold-blooded prey grows sluggish in the chill, the shark's heated muscles can still unleash their full explosive power. Its eyes see clearly in low light. Yet sight is the smallest part of this animal's sensory arsenal. Its nostrils can detect a single drop of diluted blood among millions of gallons of seawater. The faintest trace is enough to lead it for miles. Running along its body is a sensory line that picks up the smallest vibrations, the thrashing of a wounded fish from a great distance. Around its snout are thousands of receptor pores that read the faint electrical signals given off by the contracting muscles of any living creature. That means prey lying motionless, buried in sand, still can't hide. Its beating heart alone gives it away. And when every sense converges on a single target, what awaits the prey is the jaw. Rows upon rows of serrated, triangular teeth, sharp as scalpels, stacked one behind the other. A broken tooth is instantly replaced by the one behind it. A single shark can go through thousands of teeth in its lifetime. That jaw doesn't bite to hold, it bites to sever. Combined with a violent shake of the head, every strike becomes a living saw blade, tearing through skin, fat, and bone. All of it serves a single tactic. One strike that built this species' legend. The ambush from below. It doesn't run down its prey over long distances. It stalks, calculates, then launches straight upward. Its skin tells a story of camouflage, too. A slate dark back, a bright white belly, an ancient trick of the ocean. Seen from above, the dark back dissolves into the depths. Seen from below, the white belly disappears into the sunlit surface. The hunter is nearly invisible from every angle. Prey usually senses the danger only in its final moment. Just off the shore of False Bay, a rocky outcrop rises from the sea, Seal Island. Tens of thousands of Cape Fur seals are crammed onto its rocks. Loud, thick with the smell of life. Every day, to feed, they must leave the island and swim out into deep water. And to come home, they must cross that same open stretch again. That stretch of water has a nickname, the Ring of Death, because it's where the kings lie in wait. Dawn. Hunting hour. The low light hides the shark's shadow, while silhouetting every seal against the sky. Deep below, a great white circles slowly, head tilted upward, eyes scanning the small shapes, breaking the surface. A young seal drifts away from the group. Alone. A mistake. The shadow locks onto its target. Then it does something almost unbelievable for a creature weighing nearly 2 tons. It rockets straight up, tearing clear of the surface, prey in its jaws. This launch has a name, the breach, a moment when a colossal mass of muscle hangs suspended in midair, defying gravity. Most of the time, it's over on the first strike. Impact and jaws come down together, and the prey drops before it even understands what happened. Nowhere on Earth puts the great white's power on more vivid display. False Bay was once the greatest stage on the planet for great white sharks, where hundreds of individuals returned reliably year after year. As long as the seal colony endured, their throne seemed like it would never be shaken. Then something strange began to happen. Season after season, great white sightings grew rarer until they had all but vanished from the bay. No carcasses, no outbreak of disease, just waters, once thick with predators, gone strangely silent. What could make the animal-crowned king of the ocean abandon its own kingdom? The answer doesn't come from the deep, and it doesn't come from a bigger shark. It comes from a creature that isn't even a fish. The orca is the largest member of the dolphin family. A male can reach 30 feet long and weigh over 6 tons, 3 times the mass of a great white shark. But their most fearsome weapon isn't their size. It's their brain. They hunt in groups, use tactics, and learn. The secret rests on a strange vulnerability. Flip a shark onto its back, and it falls into a trance-like paralysis. The phenomenon is called tonic immobility. A creature that powerful suddenly lies still, helpless, as if sinking into a deep sleep. Ramming and rolling it until they flip their prey upside down. The prey slips into paralysis. The hunt is all but over. What stuns scientists is the chilling precision of it. The orcas bring down a great white shark just to eat its energy-rich liver. From carcasses washing ashore to footage capturing the hunts firsthand, the truth is now clear. The king of the ocean is not invincible. Faced with a smarter rival, the great whites have chosen to flee, abandoning entire stretches of water that were once their territory. This spectacular overthrow leaves behind one enormous question. If strength and size don't make a king of the ocean, then who does the throne truly belong to? Start with raw bite force. And here, an unlikely challenger steps forward far smaller, but with a bite stronger than the king's. The bull shark. About 11 feet long, weighing only a fraction of the king, its body built stocky and solid like a wrestler's. Pound for pound, it has the strongest bite ever measured among sharks. At the rear of the jaw, scaled for its body size, that force is the equivalent of roughly 1,300 pounds, outperforming both the great white and the hammerhead on that same relative scale. And yet it weighs only a fraction of either of those animals. Ounce for ounce, this is the most fearsome bite in the ocean. It's also one of the most aggressive species, with some of the highest levels of aggression-linked hormones recorded. It doesn't retreat, it charges straight in. Yet what truly makes it unique isn't its jaw. It's where it dares to go places no other large shark can follow. Most sharks die if they leave salt water. The bull shark is different. It breaks that rule entirely. Thanks to specialized salt regulation in its kidneys and rectal gland, it can live in fresh water for months at a time. It swims up great rivers, deep into the interior of continents. Bull sharks have been found hundreds of miles from the sea, in rivers and lakes where no one would ever expect a shark to survive. That opens up a second kingdom entirely. The great white is confined to salt water. The bull shark hunts in both worlds. On the axis of raw power and sheer nerve, this first challenger scores its point. A stronger bite than the king. A farther reach than the king. Yet ruling isn't only about biting hard. A true king also rules through reach. And on that axis, another challenger steps forward, carrying a menu that's practically limitless. The tiger shark. Up to 16 feet long, weighing around 2,000 pounds, marked with faint, tiger-like stripes as a juvenile. If the bull shark is a specialist, the tiger shark is the greatest generalist of them all. Its stomach has been found holding almost anything imaginable. Sea turtles, seabirds, fish, sea snakes, whale carcasses, even human trash. People call it the garbage can of the sea. That lack of pickiness is a strength. When picky eaters falter as their prey disappears, the tiger shark simply changes its menu and carries on. But its true role reveals itself not in what it eats, but in how it changes its prey's behavior. In Shark Bay, off the coast of Australia, tiger sharks hunt sea turtles and dugongs. Grazers of the seagrass meadows on the seafloor. Wherever a tiger shark is prowling, turtles and dugongs don't dare graze in one spot for long. Fear forces them to keep moving. The hunter's presence alone is what keeps the seagrass meadows healthy. And those meadows sustain countless other creatures. This is an idea that will return to haunt the end of this story. An apex predator doesn't just kill, it shapes an entire seascape. Remove the tiger shark, thunder grazers strip the seagrass bare, shaking the whole ecosystem. The king, it turns out, is a keeper of balance. A king's reach, then, isn't measured by how far it swims, but by the fate of every species that depends on it. On this axis, the tiger shark leaves the king far behind. Two challengers have made their case, but there are still axes of power neither has touched. The next axis, the senses. And here, the crown belongs to the strangest head in the ocean. The great hammerhead. Some individuals weigh over 1,000 pounds, crowned with a structure unlike anything else in the ocean. A flat, wide head shaped like a hammer called a cephalofoil. It looks clumsy at first glance, though it's a highly sophisticated detection device. With an eye at each end, it achieves nearly a full 360-degree field of view. It can see above and below at the same time. That head is also packed with electroreceptors, sweeping the seafloor like a metal detector. And its favored prey is a master of concealment: stingrays, buried in the sand, all but invisible. A stingray lies motionless, drained of color, hidden, yet its beating heart still sends a faint electrical pulse through the sand. The hammer-shaped head picks up the signal. The hammerhead circles, locks the position. It uses that broad head to pin the stingray to the seafloor, pressing it into the sand before twisting around to bite. This is domination of an entirely different kind. Not strength, not size, information. It wins because it knows what nothing else can know. The deeper the descent, the more the ocean rewrites its own rules. Light vanishes entirely, temperatures drop to near freezing, and down here, time itself moves to a different rhythm. The Greenland shark. Over 20 feet long, weighing more than 2,000 pounds a match for the great white in size. Yet it doesn't hunt with speed. It swims at under 1 mile an hour, so slow it's earned the nickname the sleeper shark. In water that hovers around 34 to 39 degrees Fahrenheit, every rhythm of life slows down. Most individuals are nearly blind, their corneas worn away by a parasite. And yet this slow, half-blind creature holds a record no other vertebrate on Earth can match. By measuring radioactive isotopes in the lens of its eye, scientists have confirmed it as the longest-living vertebrate ever recorded. One individual is estimated to have lived at least 272 years. The largest may be pushing 400. A Greenland shark swimming today may have been born before the founding of the United States. And here's the most staggering detail of all. A Greenland shark doesn't reach sexual maturity until around 156 years old, a century and a half, just to be ready to have young. If the great white rules through the kill, this one rules through time. It doesn't need to win a single confrontation. It just needs to outlive everything else. Deeper still, where sunlight has never once reached, another strange ruler holds court not through strength, but through endurance in absolute darkness. The goblin shark. Living at depths of 2,000 to over 4,000 feet, it's so rarely seen that it was once dismissed as a myth. Its skin is so thin and translucent that the blood vessels beneath show through, giving its body an eerie, pale pink glow in the black water. Its long, flattened snout is covered in electroreceptors, tracking the pulse of prey in darkness, where eyes are useless. And when prey ventures close enough, it unleashes the trait that has astonished science the most: jaws that catapult forward like a slingshot. The lower jaw shoots out of the mouth faster than in any other shark, snapping shut around its prey before it can react. In a place with no light, no seasons, nothing worth fighting over, the crown doesn't go to the strongest, it goes to whoever simply endures. Up to this point, every definition of a king has revolved around one thing: the capacity to deal death. Meet the creature that shatters that definition completely. The largest fish alive on the planet today. The whale shark. A shape 40 feet long, with the largest individuals reaching nearly 60 feet and weighing up to 20 tons. Many times the size of a great white shark. If size alone made a king, then this, beyond question, would be the supreme ruler. When it glides past, the divers beside it look like specks of dust. A mouth nearly 5 feet wide opens like a gate. Instinct says a mouth that size must belong to the most fearsome hunting machine of all. That instinct is completely wrong. Because the whale shark has barely any teeth worth mentioning. It doesn't bite. It doesn't tear. It doesn't chase. It's a gentle filter feeder. It drifts along slowly, mouth wide open, drawing in an immense volume of water. Then it filters out the smallest of creatures: plankton, fish eggs, tiny shrimp. The largest creature in the ocean survives on nearly the smallest. A giant, sustained by specks of life barely the size of a pinhead. Its skin is nearly 4 inches thick, among the thickest in the animal kingdom, a soft armor that needs no weapon at all. Across its dark grey skin are countless white spots, arranged in a pattern unique to every individual, a living fingerprint, and no two alike. And it is entirely harmless to humans. A diver can swim right alongside this giant and come away completely unharmed. This is the greatest reversal in the entire story. The largest fish in the open ocean isn't a killer at all. It's a gentle wanderer. Thousands of miles to the north, where the sun never sets in summer and never rises in winter, lies a land governed by entirely different rules. Laponia. The Arctic tundra stretches across more than 77,000 square miles through 4 nations: Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Russia. A land larger than all of England, yet almost devoid of human presence. At Nuorgam, the northernmost settlement in the European Union, the line between civilization and wilderness is as thin as early season ice. Here, temperatures of 40 below zero are not a catastrophe, but the most ruthless evolutionary filter the planet has ever devised. On the highest peaks, the mountain tundra lies barren and wind-scoured. Only lichen, moss, and dwarf grasses cling to rock, their growing season compressed to mere weeks each year. And the arms race here unfolds not between fang and claw beneath a blazing sun. It unfolds in a darkness that stretches the entire winter between a living body and a cold that seeks to freeze every